And this class is specifically designed for attorneys and law firms. As Aaron's getting his slides and presentations set up to lead us, I wanted to start by saying, and we'll be giving you a few more reassurances of this as we go on, that this is not intended to be a highly granular, detailed training of every single function that campus can do, because we would be here for far longer than you'd all want to be here. What we'll be giving you is more of a high-level overview of several of the concepts of campus, generally how campus works, the kinds of things it can do, and we're going to go into some details, giving you some examples of doing different functions within campus. There's going to be detailed training sessions coming next week and the week after that, which are more role focused. And so we'd encourage you guys to look for those on your email notices or on the DLI website. And we might even be able to have our technical expert, Yashika, post a couple of those links for us in the chat box down at the bottom right-hand corner. So remember, this is not going to be every you're going to want, and in fact you wouldn't want us to go through every detail. Watch for the more detailed training sessions to be in week 3 and week 4. Right now we're in week 2 of training for campus.
And hopefully we'll make sure that you stay awake. I just got a note from a recent continuing legal education program that I did on Medicare set-asides, and it said that I made the program interesting because I referenced the movie Fletch Lives. So I don't know if I'm going to be mentioning the movie or bringing in a line from Fletch Lives, but hopefully it'll still be as riveting as that. I see that we have 41 people who have entered. I'm going to wait until my timer hits 103, and then we'll get going because I want to be respectful of your time.
And we are going to try, mostly Aaron is going to be trying to keep it riveting for you guys so you don't fall asleep on us, because we want you to have some value here. We want you to be able to walk out of here, so to speak, with a bit more confidence in what campus is about and what it's going to look like and how it's going to work. Also, we're scheduled for either 2.5 to 3 hours, but we can assure you we will not need to take that full time. So we are completely confident. We're going to give you some time back at the end of this session.
Because I care about you. Well, my timer just hit 103. So are you ready, Brian?
I'm ready. Do it, Aaron.
All right. So my name is Aaron Fredrickson. I'm a mediator arbitrator with the Minnesota Department of Labor and Industry. I'm going to be flying the Barbie leg on this particular presentation. We got Brian Mack in the co-pilot seat. As Brian said, this is a 6-hour and 32-minute program regarding Medicare, or not Medicare, about campus. As you're all aware, campus is the new document management system or portal for the Department of Labor and Industry, and will also be utilized by the Workers' Compensation Court of Appeals. Campus stands for Claims Access and Management Platform User System. So obviously someone a lot more intelligent than myself came up with that wonderful acronym. So when we talk about campus, we're talking about, I guess, the equivalent of CTRAC over at OAH. There are no prerequisites for this, and this is geared towards attorneys and people in a law firm, so paralegals, support staff, IT professionals, receptionists, and jack of all trades who work at law firms. Got a quick overview here of what we're going to be talking about throughout this. Ryan, as the co-pilot, will be monitoring the chat box, and if there's any questions that pop up, we can try and incorporate answers to that as we go along in the presentation.
Yeah, we're not gonna, sorry, go ahead, Aaron.
Oh, no, say what you're going to say, Brian. That's cool.
I was just going to throw out there that we're not going to make you all hold your breath and wait with all your questions till the very end. We are going to try to answer your questions as they come up. And if we And when we do finish early, we'll be staying after that too, if people want to, or if people think of some other questions and want to ask us some more after we've kind of officially ended the presentation. So go ahead, throw them up there in the chat. Make sure you're sending them to everyone so we can all see it. Otherwise, only maybe one or two of the people that you direct it to will see your questions. All yours, Aaron.
Yeah, so one of the things that I want you to think about, and I think of like life experiences and stories. And a couple years ago, I lived and worked for a short time in the Cité Soleil neighborhood of Port-au-Prince, Haiti. And because Haiti, the official language is French, I went ahead. My oldest two daughters are fluent in French, and I had them teach me some French. Well, I got there and I realized that they actually spoke more of a French Creole and not a French. And so what I really needed to do is kind of learn the language of the Cité Soleil neighborhood. And by immersing myself in it, and I was there with doing some soccer stuff, I was able to do soccer training sessions all by myself without the assistance of a translator. One of the important things that you're going to need to do and how that applies to campus is you need to understand the language of campus. So on campus, the two main words that we'll be using are entities and transactions. So you as an attorney are an entity, or more importantly, also within a law firm. Other entities include injured employees, employers, insurers, trading partners. A trading partner might be another state agency, third-party administrator, QRC, etc. A transaction is something that you are actually doing or worked on. So I see that we have some defense attorneys on here. They will be filing a rehab response. They'll be filing a rehab or a medical response. They might be performing other functions. Employees' attorneys might be filing a claim, might be initiating a dispute, etc. If you're looking at this list, you're probably going to see some things that you have no idea what they are. I would not freak out because campus covers the whole entire Department of Labor and Industry. So there might be something like a prepaid card, which I guess an example would be as a prepaid card is a bus card for an injured employee to get to and from an independent medical examination or something to that effect. So again, entities and transactions. The thing that I like about the campus system is it's a web-based system. It's going to allow you to have access to claim information instantaneously. On occasion, at least in terms of my job, I'll sometimes get an email like, hey, we want to know when that notice of intention to discontinue was filed. I heard that there was a medical request filed on something. I never got it. Can you go ahead and send it to me? The great thing about campus is you will be able to, even if you get woken up in a panic at 3 o'clock in the morning, or if there was a thunderstorm that's moving through like the other night, you'll definitely be able to log on, access it, print it, send it, fax it, whatever you want to do with it. It's because it's a web-based system. Again, you'll have access to it. And this is an example of the detail that you'll be able to find for various entities, various transactions to assist you as you navigate the campus system. So again, continuing on our flight, we're now up to 40,000 feet where we're going to stay through the remainder of the presentation. Under each specific entity, so an entity might be a law firm, it might be an injured employee, it might be an employer, insurer, etc. There's going to be various details such as addresses, related claims, assuming you have access to those claims, documentation, and notes. Probably more importantly here for firm administrators is you are going to be running the show in terms of your particular law firm or other entity in creating user invites and setting permissions for various people within your law firm. Again, because campus is a web-based system, there's an added level of security. One other thing that I like about it is the department can send you documents and not have to put that encrypt feature on our emails like we do. And then it drives you crazy because you have to request a one-time code and then you have to wait for that. And then you open up the message and it's just someone at the department saying thank you. With the secure platform, we'll be able to send documents to you in a quick and efficient manner. And then also one of the most important things is safety, because if you had a work injury, you wouldn't want your personal private information floating out there. So at least I don't want to. And hopefully you're like me in that regard. Very shortly, you will have an access to external user manual. I've seen a rough draft. It's almost ready to go. And this is a really good document to have. If you're like me, I would encourage you to print it up, put it in a 3-ring binder. You'll probably use it for about 2 to 3 weeks, and then it'll be something that will sit on your bookshelf through the rest of your legal career. But honestly, this is the team has done a very good job putting together this user manual. Again, some of the people that will probably rely on this manual the most for destructions or instructions, depending on your point of view, is how to grant permissions, access, etc. So, ultimately at the end of the day, the nice thing that I like about this system, and I'm not going to let you stare at this screen. We're just going to jump right in to the particular system, and hopefully everyone can see. Can you see my web browser, Brian? Okay.
Sorry, Aaron, my mute was getting stuck there. Yeah, we see it.
Okay. So this is the campus system. This is where you would go in. It's not ready to open up for you to register, but you'd go to the main screen and you can log in, or you need to sign up. And just by simply clicking on the sign up button, it's going to bring a registration tool. This will kind of give you the look and feel of how to register. The nice thing I liked about this is, I am registering as, and there's a variety of different categories for individuals. One thing that I like is injured employees will have access to this system. They'll have access to information on their workers' compensation case. One of the big frustrations during the pandemic and lockdown was the lack of instantaneous information. I would say a lot of the phone calls I received on the hotline were from injured employees that wanted access to documents. With Campus, they'll be able to do that. Hopefully, too, that'll take some pressure off of attorneys that represent injured employees as far as access to information. Very simple login process and feel. You got to accept the user terms. I expect everyone to read the terms of service, etc. And whoops, we can't find that. All right.
And while Aaron's trying to get that to boot back up again, I'll throw in there that for everybody who's going to be touching Campus, and that's probably going to be pretty much people who are going to be dealing with the filing and viewing of documents on Campus, or the filing and viewing of pleadings, we'd really recommend each of you and your firms to register as a user. So that would mean the paralegals are all going to register, legal secretaries register, the attorneys register. Everybody get in so they're in the system, and then we'll be able to, or the administrator of your firm will be able to start giving people different authorities and different accesses for the firm. So it's not that hard. Aaron showed you the one page, and that's all it was. Just throw a bit of information there. It needs a personal email, or it needs an email. Going to give you a personal login, going to give you a password. It's real easy.
Yeah. Hey, and I've created a test account externally for myself. And as I always say, if Aaron Frederickson can do it, so can you. It's really not that tough. So you go through the simple and easy login process. It's gonna generate, a confirmatory email that's gonna get sent to your inbox. You confirm that it is in fact you, that you registered for it, and away you go. The next thing that you can do is you go ahead and you create your user profile. So I'm actually just gonna jump in right now, and I can show off some of the features for this particular system. So I have a very Minnesota appropriate email address there. I need to agree that I'm going to use it for only correct purposes. And kind of like when Elon Musk smashed the window out of his own shatterproof vehicle, it says that we can't get the page that we're looking for. But I just did a quick refresh, and voila, we're ready. So some of the features that I noticed, and let's start in the upper right-hand corner. I registered as Chuck Finley. For those of you that have ever watched the burn notice, you'll know what I'm talking about. Let's say that I misstated something. I know one thing I noticed is I had initially registered as Chuck Finley, and then when I tried to sign my legal documents as Charles Finley, it wouldn't let me do that. So I think kind of a user recommendation is put your legal name there. Let's say that I needed to update my information. So I thought that I was Charles Finley the fourth. And let's say that really wasn't in fact. I found out that, I'm actually only the third. I can go ahead and update that information. So August 6th, 1962 is when I was born. I got my attorney ID number of 8675309. If you're a Chicago Cubs fan, you'll recognize that address. I can modify things. This is actually a Jamaican phone area code right here. So I could go down and I could change it to Jamaica. I want to go ahead and save those changes. And now I've saved the changes. And they will go ahead and save eventually. Kind of some of the other features while we're waiting for that to save. Kind of like the button that you will probably be using a lot. If you ever get lost, you ever get frustrated, there's the Department of Labor and Industry logo in the upper left-hand corner. That brings you back automatically to your search screen. There's various notifications. A notification can be sent on when a pleading is submitted. What I see, as far as the attorney use is, oh, hey, there was a document submitted, or I don't recall if I submitted that document. A notification would get generated when I submitted that document. I can click on it, and it will. Right now, I don't have any notifications, but all my notifications would be listed in this box. It kind of has the look and feel like Microsoft Outlook as far as the calendar. One important thing is there is currently not the functionality to sync your calendar on here with your Outlook calendar. So don't drop something on Outlook and expect it to sync or ask us how to do that functionality. I think it's a matter of programming that is not built into the system, and there's probably about 352 laws that prohibit from doing that. One of the tabs that attorneys or anyone, I think, within a law firm will be using a lot is this submit a filing button. And the submit a filing button, we're going to do a demo using this button a little bit later. But to show you the functionality of it, one of the features that I like is it talks about my open claims, my upcoming events, new documents that have been filed. You'll notice that most screens running across the screen have this queues as far as my claims, my disputes, forms that I might have used. For example, yesterday during some training, I had uploaded a notice of representation. So you can see that it was submitted. This was the system generated confirmation number. It was last updated yesterday. It's associated with this claim. And let's see, I want to go ahead and see the notice of representation. I can go ahead, I can look on it. And even too, there's the ability, let's say I want to put that in my file, my physical file. I can go ahead, I can download it. The download tab will appear and you complete the process like you normally would for anything. Again, hey, I don't know how to get back to the main menu or the main screen. Again, I just navigate easily by clicking on the Department of Labor and Industry button. Brian, anything that you think I should have highlighted that I didn't?
No, that's well, the only thing I'd add there, Aaron, when you were at the forms section, that'll show all the forms that that you as a lawyer or as a paralegal or a legal assistant has filed. There is a funnel icon, which is the filter icon. For those of you who use Excel or Word, you'll be familiar with that, and that is a way that you'll be able to sort. So if you want to find a document that you may have filed at some point, that filter button is real helpful.
Yeah, okay. Moving right along.
And again, if anybody's got questions that they want us to stop on, then by all means, throw them in that chat box. I see Yoshika has put up the link to the for registering for the additional, more specific, detailed training sessions, again, starting next week and the week after.
Yeah, so the next couple of slides really just demonstrate some of the functionality that I was talking about. I'm one of those people that I just, for those of you that have known me, I just like to start talking, and sometimes it's hard to get me to shut up. But hey, I recognize that. So this might be a slide that you might want to print up, put on your desk, and after a couple of weeks, you'll forget about it. This is just highlighting the forms when I looked at that notice of representation that I had created. This goes into detail and depth more about notifications. Again, clicking on the notifications little bell, looking at it, I can go ahead, let's say that, okay, I no longer need to, remember anything about this. I can click on the X in the lower or the upper right-hand corner of that notification and it can go away, or the clear all. And I like clicking the clear all just because it really kind of helps my obsessive compulsive behaviors that I have. I highlighted how you can download various things. You can download documents, you can download notifications. And again, I think that that's going to be a process that you as a law firm or as an individual practicing attorney or paralegal is going to need to decide what works best for you. All right, so we're cruising. Continuing on at 40,000 feet so far, there hasn't been any turbulence, but please remember to keep your seat belts fastened when you are seated, and sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight. So again, let's see, where did I'd logged in someplace. Got too many screens up. So I'm logged in. Submitting and filing a document. So you can do a number of different functions, and I think as you see during your law practice, you're going to be using a lot of these functions on frequent occasion. If you wanted to access a particular claim or case, click here. Initiating a dispute, this would be like if you wanted to file a medical request regarding payment of some outstanding medical bills. Heck, we can even do that, just kind of demonstrate some of that functionality quick, right? So submit a file. So let's say that I need to go ahead and I need to locate a claim. Let's see.
Now, what Aaron's going to be doing here is, as he said, he's starting to create a filing. If this is one of the big differences between the way things are going to be done going forward in campus and the way things were done before. This is a significant difference. Normally, if you want to file a request for cert or you want to file a rehab request to terminate services, you're going to write that up. You got it on a form, you print it, you make your copies, you serve it, bunch of 6 copies a piece to everybody, etc., etc. In this case, you're not going to be making those 6 copies or writing it up on your own. You're going to be doing what Aaron's doing, which is building that rehab request, that request for cert, whatever it might be, right here in the campus system.
So I found my claim that I'm working on. The nice thing is that there's various prompt tabs. So it asks you a question, what party do you represent? I got a little drop down right here. I represent George Jetson. The other parties in dispute, the employer, the insurance company.
And if the claim exists in the system already, you know, if a FROI has been filed, those parties will already be associated with that claim, and you'll be able to pick them just like Aaron did. If it's one of these claims that hasn't had a FROI filed, where you guys call us sometimes and I tell you, sorry, there's no WID because there is no claim, you can still go forward just by manually entering the parties that you're going to be serving.
So I want to certify a medical dispute. I have functionality of, and this really helps break things down. And I think to me, it helps attorneys identify what the claim is. So my medical dispute involves, actually I want to do seeking a reimbursement for medical prescriptions. For a lot of drugs. So it adds the detail here. Let's say that, whoops, I just realized it wasn't $1 million. It was actually only $100,000. So let's say that we want to add, you know, copies of the bills too.
And again, Aaron is building out that medical request, and he's now going to be putting together the attachments to the medical request, which he'll submit.
So I could add copies of the bills, supporting documentation, which is always important. Kind of the feature that I can drag and drop it from my computer onto the screen, or it can upload it. This shows the documents uploaded. I'm going to go ahead, add some detail. Oh.
And again, you're not going to be uploading a copy of your medical request, which you've completed in your firm software. You're going to be making the medical request right here as Aaron's doing. And you'll see if it goes all the way to the end for us, you'll be able to see what he's made.
Because this is a test environment, there's some null sets. But we're bobbing and weaving. Okay, so I got everything. Sing the song. 8675309. Okay. Again,
keep it up, Aaron, and sing it.
I gotta sign this with my legal name. It wouldn't work if I just signed it Chuck Finley. I am understanding that this is true and accurate. See, the nice thing is I'm sitting there, and if you're an impatient person like I am, I'm like, what's going on here? This isn't working. Oh, I gotta, there it is.
This is one of the things.
Oh, go ahead, Brian.
Sure, this is one of the pleasant things about campus that we have noticed, and we may because we make a lot of mistakes as we've been working on this. And by the way, we are newer to this system also. We haven't, Aaron and I haven't been in this system for the last 3 years, so we haven't been embedded in it. We've been learning it like you guys are going to be learning it. But what's nice is that you saw Aaron made a mistake there. He didn't click the box. So instead of making some annoying, nasty beep like those card readers do in the grocery store when they tell you to take your credit card out of the thing, it just shows you it. And it's not like sometimes when you don't know why your Freud didn't go with EDI, it can be a little confusing. Here it's pretty clear. It'll light up for you those sections that you still got to address.
Service, and I think this is going to demonstrate some really exciting things if I want to add an additional service recipient. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and serve these parties electronically.
So Aaron is he's building the medical request, and he's about to serve it all in one fell swoop.
Yes, I'm serving it electronically. This shows that they are an active user within the system. I got to click on the perjury declaration. I got to click on this box again. This was probably something legal submitted or made us do, excuse me. And submit the form. And I just broke out another window. I think too, sometimes just with other testing going on in the system's running a little slow. I clicked on this button about 5 times yesterday when I was cleaning out my inbox yesterday. Afterward, I had about 18 emails notifying me that something was actually sent out. So,
okay, click it harder, Aaron, harder and faster. Then it'll work.
So hopefully, and this is why they probably picked me, because I can make a complete fool out of myself, and I really don't care. And I'm the most patient person within the department, besides the commissioner. So that hopefully you get the idea of some of the things. One of the nice things too that I like about this is, let's say that someone comes into your office, and this would probably be used more for an attorney representing an injured employee, and you've searched and they're not on campus. So that means that first report of injury hasn't been filed. You're going to do what's called request guidance with an unreported injury. And what this does is this helps what we internally call developing a claim shell. And think of a claim shell as kind of like a seed that you're planting, and you want it to grow into an actual claim. The injured employee could also log into campus and submit this on their own. I think too, that's going to create less problems and frustrations for injured employees when they try and report an injury to their employer and their employer refuses to be in contact with the workers' compensation insurance carrier. But let's say, so I have a client that came into my office, they injured themselves on the 1st of 2020. Was a crush injury. Their social security number. We don't know their WID. Whoops. I hope that that's not their birthday. And they give me their cell phone number. Their number is 555. One other cool thing about this is just by entering the zip code, it automatically populates to the city that's associated with that zip code. You don't have to look it up. Let's say that they really don't know who they're working for. The company that they're working for is Campus something. So I just type in Campus. And it's United Campus Ministries. They don't know who the workers' compensation insurance carrier is. You have the option of clicking you don't know, or they know that it's United something. And it's United Glass Inc. So let's see. I'm missing something here, Brian. What am I missing?
Can't see it, Aaron.
Or are you seeing a brown screen?
I see your screen, but I don't see anything lit up as not being completed. And thinking about that medical request that that Aaron tried to file, had it gone forward and accepted it, we would have now had a medical request served and filed with DLI, served on those parties that Aaron listed on his affidavit of service, and you would be able to view the document, the medical request that you created, and you'd be able to view the affidavit of service, which would show those parties served electronically and those parties that you need to send a copy in the mail to.
Alrighty.
Hey, Aaron, all you gotta do is, I think, that phone country code, hit that drop down and select something out of there.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, Mike. Mike Solheit, everybody, is another one of our highly necessary technical analysts and advisors for us.
Yeah. Well, and this brings me to another thing is I think it takes a lot of patience. And again, you know, why they selected me being one of the most patient people in the world. So it was something, and again, you know, each time you get into the system, it's going to be a lot easier. And all it was is I needed to populate the field because there was a little asterisk by it. So now this select form button is highlighted. And I have now, and this is that confirmation screen that I was talking about before. I have started a claim. So it's going to be sent to my claim history. And I can start working on that if I represent this particular individual. So kind of my honest opinion and going off script here is I was really afraid, like, what's the system going to be like? Am I going to be able to do something that I'm doing before? Because I've been with the department for almost 3 years now, and they assured me I could do everything plus more. It's just thinking about it or looking at it in a different way. And I honestly, the more that I play around on this system, I really see a lot of advantages on how I can better serve the stakeholders that I work with. I don't know if you have any additional comments in that regard, Brian.
I think it is going to have some real efficiencies, Aaron. And yeah, as I get more and more used to it, I'm certainly appreciating more and more the things that it can do. The real-time access to claims, the instantaneous filing, that all is going to be, I think, very nice for firms. Yeah.
So we've hit a little turbulence here, and we're going to climb up to about 45,000 feet just to see if the air is a little more smooth there. The next portion of the presentation is really going to be geared more towards firm administrators. Now, hopefully, if you're a firm administrator, someone has reached out to you. I know that the department has been contacting a lot of like IT people within the law firm, et cetera, so that they start to get a feel for what they have to do. Again, this information is going to be covered in greater detail in the user guide. But what group administrators are going to need to create groups, those registered people within their law firms. And to kind of give you an idea, so I go to my upper right-hand corner here, my groups, and I see that I am attached to Frederickson and Associates. Brian Mack is my group administrator. He was one of the best on the market at the time Frederickson and Associates opened up.
Yeah, don't you know it, Aaron?
Still is the best too. That's why you get paid the big bucks, right?
That's right.
So Brian doesn't trust me a lot because I'm one of those, kind of complete bozos. So he's really locked down and clamped down on my permissions. But as an administrator, when someone joins your firm, you're going to be granting them permission to your firm's group. When somebody leaves your law firm, you're going to be removing them from your group. Just because they're removed from a group, they're still going to be registered and out on campus. Let's see. You're also going to be modifying what their permissions are. One interesting thing that I learned, and it probably applies more to attorneys that are in-house counsel. So let's say that Frederickson and Associates is actually the in-house counsel law firm for Acme Insurance Company. I could theoretically, as Chuck Finley, be an attorney or have permission to be within the group for Acme Insurance Company and Frederickson and Associates. So that is, I think, one of the main ways as far as someone that would be involved in multiple groups on the system. This is kind of, some step-by-step instructions, and I think that these probably slides number 21 through 24 are going to be important for firm administrators once you start adding people to your groups in how you are, even at the end of the day, once they leave, dismissing them from the user group within your law firm.
These boxes that Aaron was showing you might look a little, obviously they're going to look a little strange and unfamiliar to you because you haven't seen them before, but it's really not that complicated when you're in the system. Not everybody's going to have to do this changing of users and giving permissions and giving access. Really only the administrator or administrators, if a firm wants more than one, will have that job. And it's really not that complicated for the administrators. I've been doing it for a lot over the last several days. There's a couple buttons to go into managing your groups, and they show you what you can do, and they offer you options of what kind of user permission you want to give to different people. So it really is pretty, I do find it pretty intuitive.
Yeah. You're also going to be managing various accesses in terms of claims that attorneys within your groups can have access to. An example, I guess, even of allowing people access is when a QRC comes onto a file and making sure that they can have access to a particular claim in managing that particular set of claims. Moving right along. Additional information on group administration, and even again, some of these slides are going to be important as far as step-by-steps when you're modifying and adding various addresses for various other entities within a particular claim. Correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, but I mean, even too, wouldn't it be a situation if there's a death and dependency claim and there would be, part of the claim would be the deceased employee, and then you might have the beneficiaries added on various claims?
Right. People who have access to the claims as parties will be able to add access to other people as well.
All right. Claim access. So claim access is going to be dictated on submitting and filing the various claims. The example would be accessing a claim and going ahead and filing a notice of representation. Again, that is going to be through the submit, filing, access and claims. What are you trying to do? Filing a notice of representation. This would even be something that would apply to attorneys that represent injured parties and attorneys that represent employers and insurers, where you are going through and adding the various information. Searching for a claim, this is where you would actually find the claim and pull it up. So a quick example here. Again, will you represent a party on the full claim or a case under the claim? Clicking who you represent. Are there limitations to your representation? Entering attorney information. I'm not going to go ahead and do that because I already represent him as an individual. And that would be committing legal malpractice by representing adverse parties without getting a waiver. And I don't want to do that in the training environment. But hopefully that just kind of gives you a feel as far as using some of the various menus on this particular system. And again, once you have submitted like the notice of representation, you're going to get this particular screenshot that indicates that the document was successfully submitted. I don't necessarily know if that's something that you want to print off and put in your file. But again, you're going to have information to that down on your little scrolly bar under My Forms. That notice of representation that I've submitted right there. I would imagine, you know, that would be tied to, in case there's an issue later on, you can work with labor and industry if it becomes an issue. Again, if you wanted to go ahead and print that document up, this document's going to be generated, scrolling down to the bottom, downloading it. I can go ahead and save it to my, or print that particular document up.
And this is what would have happened when Aaron had completed that or tried to generate that medical request. You can see by all the entry of data he put in, it creates the full document with the affidavit of service right there.
Yeah, various other issues as far as case and claim management. Claim overview. So again, each claim is going to have a details page. This is information that is going to be unique and particular to that individual claim. And an example, I just clicked on the hyperlink to this George Jetson claim. And this is probably a bigger picture. That PowerPoint is kind of difficult to see. So I have, you know, kind of the brief overview of the claim. Again, one of the nice things that I like is there's injury details. So this was a head injury, accident details, employment details, and then various information across the bottom where I can easily access it related to the claim. Even too, one of the features that I like and I think attorneys will be helpful is, well, I'm within this claim and I want to submit, what do I want to submit? I want to, again, I want to initiate a dispute because George needs some additional medical benefits. It's very easy to go in. I don't have to go back out of the claim. I'm actually within the claim. And going through that upload process, I already demonstrated this earlier, so I'm not, in the interest of time, going to go ahead and do it again. But to me, it's just kind of a really nice feature to have instead of backing out of it and going back in. I'm already in the claim. Let me go ahead and access it. So again, probably some of these slides I've already detailed as far as and shown you the actual screen as far as the various information on particular claims. Submitting the claim and then also going ahead and serving and filing the various documents.
And while a lot of those details you saw when Aaron was on that screen of the claim might look like just a big shotgun worth of information and all these different tabs, that doesn't necessarily mean it's complicated. It's still a screen just for the claim. It's information. It's there if you need it. And with the additional tabs at the bottom, they're there if you want to go in. But if all you want to do is just check the spelling of the employee's name so you could submit a dispute, then that's all you need to look at that screen for. So it doesn't mean more work for you by the fact that all this detail is available for you.
Yeah. So moving right along, I'm just going to catch up on my notes here. I should find it here quick where I'm
And we
at.
had
So
a
Brian-
question, while Aaron's looking for that, we had a question come in on if we want to search by the claim number for the campus, that's the assigned number that campus gives a claim, that is assigned when the claim is generated. Just like when an employer is put into the system, they're given their own ID number. When a law firm is put into the system, they're given their ID number. Same with the claim. And then you can search for that claim number, when you are going to be taking some action. You can find the claim that you'll want to take that action on.
Yeah. I guess right here, the actual demo that I was supposed to do was submitting a document to a claim. So let's go ahead and do that. Does that sound like a good idea, Brian?
So go for it, Aaron.
Go for it. All right. My test document is going to get submitted to this thing. I don't even want to have to clean out my my email here with all the. So we selected old George. George has been a good client. Should I request a mediation? I haven't requested a mediation yet. Upload a document. See, I think the important thing, if I can do this, everyone else should be able to do it too.
And hopefully, we're not trying to make you experts in uploading documents or experts in filing medical requests, but we're hoping that you're going to be seeing some of the similarities and some of the themes of the different functions that we're demonstrating for you here in campus, so that when you go into it on your own, you have a better idea of what you're looking for. And of course, the manual is coming out probably within the next few days.
You know, Brian, I'm like bashing holes left and right in this.
If
test
it's not
system.
liking it, that's okay, Aaron.
Yeah.
This is, again, pretty similar to what we were doing when we were going to file a medical request, but all you did is you chose what you wanted to do. You wanted to do a certain kind of a dispute, and it walks you through the choices you need to make.
Yeah, look at what happened to Tesla stock. I mean, Tesla stock is trading at like $1,400 a share. I mean, it's awesome.
Sorry, Aaron, you're over my head on that one, buddy.
So, I think we get the point. I've kind of already done this before, so I've bashed enough holes in this. But again, it's a pretty easy system, and I know that people are hard at work doing user acceptance testing, and this thing is going to be ready to rock and roll. I know that I already demonstrated the electronic service and filing function, but again, I think that this is going to be one of the easier things, or one of the things that's going to add value to the system. I know when I prepare for my administrative conferences, one of the things that I always look for is to make sure that all the parties are served. Sometimes you have that awkward, I sent it, it's on the affidavit of service, and you just kind of, we'll just send them an extra courtesy copy, okay? But at least here there is electronic verification that it was sent. Probably something not that's affecting their system. Again, you can serve people electronically, and if you also need to do paper US mail service, you have that option of doing that, and it will generate the actual service notice that you can include. And again, you can upload that service document immediately so that it is on the system. I even too, sometimes at administrative conferences, if there's documents people want to submit, they can go ahead and do that immediately before the conference, and that way everyone's going to have access to it. So you can also receive via email, mark it down as service via email. Again, really just hopefully providing some security and some consistency to the various issues. Again, the system generates a lot of these documents. So in terms of, I think really once the system goes live is there'll still be the paper forms on the internet, but when you're creating the information, you're going to create a paper copy. So what you can do is you can download a copy and then put a copy of that electronic document into your firm case management system. And then if you're old school and like to carry around the big briefcase, or you still even see people carrying around the big baskets on the little pulley things, and hopefully don't blow their backs out or whatever. They'll have all of that information there and ready to go. Anything you want to add on that part, Brian?
Just to remember everybody that if some people that you're trying to serve aren't in campus, like an employee hasn't registered for campus, you will need to drop a copy in the mail for them, but that one affidavit of service that you build on the campus system when you're creating that medical request or whatever it might be, that one affidavit will cover everybody. It will say who's being served electronically and who's getting a copy in the mail.
Yeah, there's also the ability to respond to requests for information. This will probably be more on the employer side as far as various penalty issues. So not necessarily directly within ADR, but you might want to make your larger self-insured clients aware of this function, that there is that ability on the campus system to perform those functions.
And the insurers are being given training sessions specific to insurers also. And I'm sure they'll be going into that in detail when they're requesting either a explanation or more detail on the NOPLD Box 3, or they're requesting on the NOPLD because it hasn't been filed, or et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and again, the campus system is going to be able to send out information to people. This is like an example of a compliance request, like Brian was mentioning. You didn't file your first report of injury correctly. You didn't put, we're going to give you a second shot at your zero, or not your notice of insurer's primary liability determination by providing a legal and factual explanation and being able to submit to that, submit responses on that. So again, hopefully this will increase and improve communication. Anything that you wanted to chat about, Brian?
No, I just want to see if anybody has any questions, so we can decide if we want to start at the beginning again for everybody. I'm not
Again,
seeing any.
This is just a 101 course, and really just kind of covering some of the basics. Kind of my comment, and I'm going to throw this out there, is I sat through a lot of presentations on this, and I'm one of those people that I just like to roll my sleeves up and dive into it. And I think that you know, a lot more learning is going to take place once people start having access. But hopefully this whetted everybody's appetite and was worthwhile.
So Aaron and I, we will be releasing you and giving you back, looks like an hour and a half to 2 hours of your time. So you could spend that time, well, however you want, obviously. But we will be still staying on this chat, this WebEx, watching the chat in case anyone wants to stay on for a little bit and throw any more questions out there. And when we see questions are dwindling off, we'll drop off ourselves. Have a great day, everybody, and thanks so much for joining us. I see one question coming in there about when we are going to be starting to use the system. Is it up and running now? We will be using the system starting August 31st. By that time, any and all testing will have been completed. Hopefully, any and all law firms will already be registered. We will have reached out to different firms to make sure we know who their administrator is, and we are going live August 31st. And that's when you can start getting in there and playing around and making sure you're registered as a user.
Hey Brian, this is Yash. I'm going to jump in. I'm getting some questions being asked to me directly. So I'm going to read them off if you guys just want to answer.
Yeah.
So one of them says, I'm not sure that our office has an administrator set up. Who do we check with on that?
All we mean by administrator is that lucky person at the firm who gets the job of having the authority to set up who in the campus system from your firm, who can see what and who is connected to your law firm in the campus system. So you don't need administrator. It could be anybody. I mean, it's not like it has to be technically your firm administrator. It's just whichever paralegal, whichever legal assistant gets that job.
Okay, the next question says, do we wait to receive information about registering?
You will not need, you won't be getting any information about registering. By when it goes live, that is the day when you will be allowed to register. The system will be live August 31st. So you go in to the system and you'll be able to you'll have access to the links to it at our DLI website, or you'll have the link already. You go in and you just do register, just like for many other sites that you do for your kids' soccer or whatever it might be. Just go in and register. And I would get everybody in your firm. I want to tell your attorneys there, tell everybody. Anyone who's going to be wanting to be touching pleadings, they may want to register themselves.
Okay, and then we got, when will the firm administrators be able to start creating their groups?
My understanding is that they'll be able to start creating those groups and making those links on August 31st. But I believe that or at least DLI is reaching out to firms to start trying to pre-populate people who might be considered the administrator. See another question here about how a request for an employee's whole comp file be affected by campus. If you've got an authorization that lets you see everything, then you'll be able to see everything in real time on the system. You'll have access to all of it. And then you can, if you want, look at the documents and download any of them you feel like to print.
I have a couple more. So there's another one that says, I'm a secretary, so I create medical responses. Is there a way for the attorney to review before I serve and file it?
Well, I don't know. I suppose, I don't know if when you're building a medical response, if you can, you could probably just walk away from your computer and have them look at it, but I don't know if you can kind of set it into a pending queue to take a look, to come back to it, the next day after the lawyers looked at it. So Yash, maybe we could ask a question for that and see if we can get back to people on that issue. What if someone has built up a medical request or medical response and they want to hold for a little bit and let someone take a final look at it?
Yep.
That's a good question. I have not been asked that one yet.
Hey, I can actually answer part of that. I know.
Great. Yeah, Mike, what do you got?
Yep, I know that for a lot of these web forms, either if it's a medical request or a medical response, anything similar to that, you can save it as a draft and it will sit in your My Forms queue. And then you can just click on the hyperlink and you can return to it at a later time. Yep.
Perfect. Thanks, Mike.
All right, I have a few more coming in here. Can a law firm have more than one administrator?
Yes, they can. So if a firm says we're going to have a couple of people have the job of getting everybody all linked up on the system and deciding who's going to have permission and authorization to do what, then absolutely they are supposed to be able to have more than one person who can be designated as the administrator. But we recommend everybody ought to register themselves. I see we got still a few people here. I see we got Lisa Tyson over there. So for Lisa, that means for you, get your boss to register himself. Someone could theoretically register for another person, but we're talking about usernames and passwords. And, generally people don't go sharing their passwords.
And I see there was a follow-up to that question about having the attorney review it. Is the draft visible to all parties linked to the case?
Do you know the answer to that, Mike?
Yeah, so no, it isn't. It's not visible to anybody until it's been submitted.
All right, and then we have another one that says, how do we set up the administrator? I understand it can be anyone we choose.
My understanding is that, I'm not sure. I know that at least I believe that we were going to be trying to reach out and get to the firms and get some of these administrator names in place. Otherwise, Mike, is it just a matter of someone clicking on their own name as an administrator? I know that's what I did in the system, but is that how it's going to be once we go live?
I believe that's my understanding of it too.
Okay.
I don't see any more coming in on my end. I don't know if you have anything on your end, Brian.
No, I don't see any others here.
And again, if you have any follow-up or you have any other questions that pop up into your head later today or later this week, we do have that WCMP mailbox. You can send any question in there and we'll go ahead and answer it. I monitor that regularly, like all day, every day. That is my job right now. So
And
we can get back to you really quick.
Right. Yep. And do remember, everybody, that on the DLI website right now, there are links to additional training sessions that are going to be next week and the week after, where we're going to go into more detail in how to use Campus for dispute resolution. And hopefully everybody understands again that what we did today was kind of a taste, kind of an overview, giving you an appreciation of how generally Campus works with a couple of dives, but not as deep as, of course, you're going to want to go when you're actually doing this on August 31st or later. All right, I think that's it then, Yashka.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.